Today we're doing a Maine lobster catch and cook. We're going to compare a small lobster, a medium lobster, and a large lobster. We handpicked the best lobsters that we got for the day. We're going to head in and cook them up. We're going to try a few different ways to cook them, some traditional ways, steaming, but we're also going to try some different ways that I have never tried before, that I've always been curious about trying. We'll also show you some tips and tricks on how to pick them out. Let's go get them cooked up. All right, so the plan is to take the big one and the small one, and we're going to steam them in a traditional way. We're going to cook them how we normally would cook them. We're also going to make a lobster roll out of them. Then we're going to take the medium one. We're actually going to get creative with it. We're going to try something I've never tried before. It's going to be interesting. It's an idea that I've had for a while. I've never heard of anybody doing it, but I think it'll be good. All right, so the first step is to get your water into your kettle. And ideally you want a kettle that you can steam in. This one's actually designed for steaming. It has a false floor in it, so your water stays below the false floor and your lobsters stay out of the water. If you have a kettle like this that doesn't have a false floor, you can still use it. Just put about an inch and a half of water in the bottom of it, and that'll serve the same purpose. Actually, if you have access to salt water, it's much better to use salt water. It'll give them a much saltier flavor. And since we're here in the rental cabins, we're right on the ocean, we have access to it, so we're gonna take advantage of that. Salt water straight from the ocean. These cottages are actually available to rent starting in the middle of May. When you rent one, they actually come with everything you need to cook and pick your own lobsters right here. If you get a hold of me, we can actually try to coordinate getting some of my own lobsters to you while you're here. You can actually put lobsters to sleep, whether you feel bad for them or you don't want to kill them. I'm going to show you how to do it. You tip them up on their nose, you fold their tail down, and you get them to balance just like this. Whoa. You rub their head, you hum to them. You can sing them a lullaby, your favorite song, whatever you'd like. Takes a minute or two. This one is kind of excited, so maybe it won't work. Usually takes a minute or two. The longer you wait, the more effective it is. So if you want to make sure you got them to sleep. I've never had one do this before. Stay. Usually I sing like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something, but I might sing ZZ Top to this one. I like to just hum to them. This one's probably going to take at least a couple minutes, so we might fast forward here for a second. We're going to let him fall good in his sleep. We're going to start cooking the small one and the big one. Our water is to a boil. We're going to put them in, and then we're going to get creative with this one. So it's important you take the rubber bands off the claws. The rubber can actually cause a rubbery taste in the meat. This also works on toddlers. I'm joking. All right, he's been on his nose for about 2 minutes, and as you can see, he's sound asleep. Now, we're gonna get creative with this one. We're actually gonna try injecting its claws and tail with butter, and we're gonna try baking it. If you're wondering how much butter you need to cook lobsters, roughly 2 pounds will do it. All right, we're gonna melt the butter in a frying pan, and I don't know if this is gonna work. This is the only syringe I could find, but we're gonna try injecting the lobster with melted butter and some vinegar and see if we can bake it.
Fast forward, butter melting.
I'm also gonna cut it with vinegar. You'll actually see in a few minutes, we dip in butter cut with vinegar, and it's delicious. So I assume the same will apply when we try to bake it. All I have is apple cider vinegar. You can use anything.
Oh la la, so fancy.
You got some serious steam going. They're pressure cooking. Look at that cover. You get nothing but the best stoves here. We're gonna check on them. You can see they still have a little bit of darkness in their back. A couple more minutes. All right, so the lobster is asleep, but we're just gonna make sure he stays asleep. If you wanna kill him humanely, you just put the knife down to the head. All right, we are gonna preheat the oven for the experiment. I don't even know what temperature to do, but we're gonna go with 350. For this experiment, we're mostly gonna focus on the tail and the claws, and we're actually gonna separate the tail raw and the claws raw. And this will give us an opening to put the butter in. These guys have been going about 12 minutes now. I think they must be done. Smaller ones will cook quicker than the big ones. His antennas are coming right off, so. The little one is definitely done. The big one should be real close. He looks close enough. All right, while those cool down, we're gonna see if we can get these injected with butter. The trick here is to use intense Tylenol syringe. I've never heard of anybody doing this, but I'm hopeful we can fill the whole tail full of butter. We got 2 syringe holes in the tail. Hopefully it'll work its way all the way down into the bottom of the tail. It is. Look at the tail opening up. It made the tail open up. That's crazy. It must be the heat. Look, it's making the flippers move. All right, let's see if we can get a little bit in the front side as well. See if you can see it going in. Oh, you can. This is gonna work. We're inventing a new way to cook lobsters right here. Scooch over, Gordon. We're coming for your job. They straightened the tail right out. It's coming out the other side. Tail is full of butter. How can this not be good? It's basically gonna steam in butter. I'm giving this like 90% chance of success. I think this is the new best way to cook lobster. This tail should weigh like a half a pound, and it weighs about a pound. We're gonna put it in the tin foil. I think we're also gonna try to make a little bowl here, and just for good measure. How can this not be good? No chance this is a flop. Be clean, no mess. I'm gonna double the tin foil. I'm pretty confident in this.
I mean, I'm interested to try.
I think it's gonna be good. These might be a little more challenging. Let's see what we can do with the claws. Oh, it's opening the claw. The heat makes the muscles move. This one's gonna be a little trickier. Oh yeah, I'm getting more and more confident in this by the moment. Definitely going in through the knuckles, the place to go. Overflowing out the top, we're ready to go. Let's get these babies in the oven. The oven is at 350. We're gonna put these in and see what kind of mess we've made. I think that's gonna be delicious. All right, we've already used about a pound of butter and we haven't even eaten a piece of lobster yet. So we're doing good so far. You know we're on the right track. We gotta melt more butter. We got the big lobster cooked and we got the little lobster cooked. I'm gonna show you a little trick on how to pick them out. The first trick is pretty interesting and it starts with the tail. We normally don't cook lobsters this big. We always go after the smaller ones. The smaller ones tend to have a little bit sweeter meat. It's gonna be interesting to try this one out. I don't need them much. So after you've separated your tail from the body, fold their flippers backwards and all their flippers will come right off. After you do that, you're left with a little hole in the back of the tail. This might be tricky to do with a big hard shell like this. With cheddars, it's very simple, but you drive your finger in that hole in the back of the tail and the whole tail will roll right out through the front. Simple, clean, one step. So I've never actually seen somebody do this, but this butter has a lot of flavor in it. And I think it'll be a really good addition to the lobster roll that we're gonna make in a few minutes. So we're gonna save that, put it on top of the roll. After you got your tail, you gotta fold the top of it back and get the poop chute out. Right there, you see it? I mean, you can eat it if you're a weirdo, but I would take it out. Got a perfect tail. We're gonna do the same for the little tail and I'll show you what it looks like when you're going at actual speed. Oh, there's some more of that butter right there. Let's save that. This one's pretty clean. So typically cheddars are better eating than the hard shell. These ones are actually both pretty hard. This time of year, there's not a lot of cheddars around. You can tell that they're hard shells because they have black on the underneath of their claws. Cheddars have much sweeter meat than the hard shells. So I don't suspect we'll see a big difference between these two, but I'm guessing the smaller one might be a little sweeter. Now let's pick the claws. Let's start with this big crusher claw. I never pick claws this big. This is probably gonna be a bit of a challenge to crack into. It's a hard claw. So the knuckles you take and you fold them back against themselves. With cheddars, the knuckle meat will come out right on it, but a hard shell like this, it won't. So you take your little picker that comes complimentary with your stay at the cottages, and you just dig the meat out. This is my favorite part of the lobster. You do the same for this knuckle, which is gonna be hard. Just take your picker and dig it out. Now for the challenging part. I don't even think the cracker's gonna go on over it, but let's see. Cracker also comes complimentary with your stay. First, break the thumb off the claw. And don't buy a 5-pounder. We might need a hammer for this. Oh, I'm gonna break the cracker. All right, we're gonna have to get creative. Hit it hard with a knife and split it actually all the way down. And you should be able to break it with your hands now. Oh, maybe we gotta hit it again. Wow. Nope. That's a struggle. If you're doing this outside, you can lay it on a rock and take another rock or a hammer and crack it. But we're trying to do this all inside. There it goes. That is a packed claw. That's one downfall to the cheddars is they don't have a lot of meat inside, but the meat is very sweet. The hard shell have very good table presentation because their claws are so full of meat. Take the claw out. Look at the size of that claw. That thing is huge. Now there's actually some cartilage in here you got to get out. It's right at the base of the thumb. If you squeeze in the middle, you can actually feel it. There's a piece in there. You can slide the claw right off of it. There's the cartilage. There's a nice lobster claw. Let's see if we can get into this other one. These big ones are a pain. In their defense, I am no expert at picking big lobsters. Like I said, usually we eat the small ones and cheddars. Wow. We'll pick hard. Make sure there's no cartilage in there. This one happened to come out on the thumb already, so this one's ready to go. All right, now I'll show you how much easier it is with a small one. Even though this isn't a cheddar, they're still much easier because we can get the crackers on them. Just fold their knuckles back, go nice and gently, and a lot of times, especially if they're a softer lobster, you can take the meat right out through. It's not gonna work. I should have found a shedder for this. We'll do that in the next one. Or when you come stay here, I'll get you a shedder. The website, I will put a link in the description. It's Ashoar Cottages. We had these cabins open last fall. We spent the whole summer renovating them. 100-year-old cabins right on the ocean, a few miles from the harbor that I fish out of, and we renovated them all summer last year. We got them opened up and we rented to a few renters in the fall. Last January, a storm came through and smashed them all up. Moved some of the cabins 20, 30, 40 feet away from where they were sitting. So we spent the whole winter and part of the spring again fixing them up. We are just about to the finish line again. So you guys can head over to the website and book now and come up, get lobsters right off the boat, bring them back here and cook them in ocean water, just like you're watching us do right now. I was gonna show you how much easier these ones picked and then I gave you an ad instead. Hold on, I'll show you in the next one. That's how easy it is. I can run an ad at the same time as picking a lobster. So you take your lobster cracker and you just go across the claw and crack the claw open, break it open, and out the claw comes, just like that. I messed it up. I like this picker. It's got a little hook on it. You can go right in the back, come right in underneath, slide it right out. Don't let me down, hook. Come on, hook. Do what I said you can do. There we go. Look at that. We got a big, beautiful bowl of meat, and we got a lobster in the oven that's got a few more minutes left. While we wait for that to finish, we're gonna toast up a bun and make a lobster roll. I don't actually cook lobster rolls a lot. I'm pretty stuck in my ways of traditionally eating lobster, which I'll show you in just a couple minutes. But we're gonna give the lobster roll our best shot, and an important piece to the lobster roll is obviously butter. When you're cooking lobster, you can't go wrong with butter. So we're gonna get our bun toasted up, and a lot of people don't realize, in most lobster rolls, the bun is the only hot part. The lobster is actually cold, and they kind of accent each other. Oh, look at that. All right, while we wait for the buns to toast, we're gonna mix up just knuckles and claw meat. We're gonna rip them up into small pieces and we use just the knuckles and claws. At least that's what I use. Maybe some people use the tails, but the knuckles and claws are my favorite part of the lobster. The tails tend to be a little bit tougher, and when you're eating a lobster roll, you don't want to take a bite and have the whole thing come out. Claws and knuckles break apart into much smaller pieces. I guess if you had a knife, you could chop up the tails. It takes about 7 lobsters to get a pound of lobster meat. How many lobster rolls you get out of a pound of lobster meat is entirely up to you. Put a whole pound on your bun if you want. I don't care, as long as you share it with me. Mayonnaise into the lobster meat. I have no idea how much. We're gonna feel it out and see how it looks. If you love mayonnaise, you can go heavy. If you don't even use it if you don't want. Well, we have this crazy idea that we've been scheming up. We think it would be super cool to break the Guinness World Records for the world's largest lobster roll and catch the lobsters that go into it. One of the hardest hurdles that we haven't overcome yet is figuring out how to make the bun, because I can't even remember. Do you remember how long that was?
270 something feet.
It's over 200 feet. You gotta make a continuous bun. So you need like an oven that can bake the bun, but we can definitely get the lobsters. So if somebody has any connections or any ideas on how to bring that bun to life, and maybe a cool location to do it, we'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. We're looking to partner with an ambitious baker who might be up to the challenge and the task of making a continuous roll that's over 200 feet long. I think we lucked out and we nailed this mixture right on the money the first try. I think it's perfect. All right, the buns are done. Let's get them loaded up. We have this lobster butter that we saved out from earlier. This stuff is so good. I don't even know what it actually is. I believe that it's lobster fat, but it has great flavors. This is nature's seasoning right here. No other seasoning. And for the finishing touches of the lobster roll, can you guess what it is? You guessed right. It's butter. We're just gonna sprinkle a little bit right over the top. And I know there's 100 different ways to make a lobster roll, and this one probably looks pretty simple to you, but I'm not an extravagant chef. I think that the lobster butter is a nice touch. The regular butter is a nice touch. Here we go. That is so good. Man. It's up there with my traditional ways of cooking lobster. I'm not gonna lie, I don't often cook or eat lobster rolls, but I think I'm gonna have to start doing this more. If you come across that butter while you're cooking your lobsters, definitely set it aside and save it, especially if you're thinking about making a lobster roll, because I might have to start making lobsters like this more often. Here you go, Jeremy. That's good, isn't it? It must be the stove. I'm gonna show you the way that I like to eat them. We're gonna take the butter, dump it in a dish. You can use any vinegar, but this is what I had, so we're gonna cut the butter with some vinegar. And give it a stir. If you wanna get real crazy, like you're not ashamed of how much butter you eat, take your lobster and put it in here and eat it like cereal. So we're actually gonna compare also the small claw with the big claw. I don't suspect there'll be a lot of difference here because the smaller one is also a hard shell. Let's make our bowl of cereal. Actually, we can't. We're just gonna dip it. We're gonna skip the cereal step for now. I don't want to scare you guys away with how I eat. Here's the little claw. That's good. The little one was delicious. Dipping it in the butter, cut with vinegar is so good. You gotta try it. Let's try the big claw. That's a monster claw. I don't think I've ever eaten a lobster claw that big. It's good. It's real good. The smaller one is sweeter, even though it's a hard shell. I can't tell the difference. Maybe it's just in my head. You'll have to buy one of each. Try it for yourself. And last but not least, here comes the experiment that I'm super excited to try and see how it is. It's been in the oven for, I don't even know. We lost track. We put it in at 350. It's 350 now.
Isn't that the heat, Jacob?
It's not, 630. I thought we put it in at 350. It should be done. I hear it sizzling in there. This is gonna be good. I'm telling you, this is gonna be, the new way everybody cooks lobster. I think the tail is gonna be better than the claws because I put like a pound of butter in the tail. Oh, smell that, Jeremy. Man.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
I'm telling you, no mess, no steaming. Steaming is great, but you're left with a kitchen that smells like lobsters, which I'm not trying to scare you guys away from buying and cooking lobsters. No, never mind. You can't go wrong when you cook lobsters. They're clean, easy on the kitchen, but I do think that this is gonna be cool. It's straight, look at how straight it is. Let's see if we can pick it out. Woo! We might wanna let it cool off. How excited am I? Take it right out of the 350 oven and go right to town on it. We're gonna have to wait for it to cool off. We'll be right back. And I don't know if I told you, but we got some cabins here you guys can rent.
They know. Let's get back to the lobster.
Here we go. The texture's weird. It's throwing me off a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, I can tell. Here we go. I think we overcooked it. It's good. It's good. The texture's just, I'm so used to eating steamed lobster. I've eaten steamed lobster my whole entire life. So to eat it any other way just seems weird. It is good though. I'll probably stick with steaming, to be honest. I'm bummed out. Thought we had something here. Jeremy, tell me what you think.
All right. Yeah, we overcooked that, but it's super sweet.
It is good. The texture, I think if we did it, you can taste it. It definitely marinated. What if you did that before you steamed them?
Maybe.
So that way you get the steam texture and the marinated flavor.
Well, this usually is a little bit more chewy anyways. So I'm wondering with the claw being softer.
Let's try the claw. I was expecting a 9 out of 10 is the problem here. It's a 7 all day long. I just went into it with such high expectations that I left nowhere to go but be let down. Yeah, the vinegar, the flavor was great. I'm curious about trying this again, doing the same thing but steaming it, because then I think you get the best of both worlds. The claw, though, you might be right. We got some nice butter in there. Ooh, it's hot. Why didn't we open this up before? So while we wait, I don't know if I mentioned it or not. Let's check the claw out. Maybe the claw will come in at 9 out of 10. I don't think we have to worry as much about the texture of the claw like we did the tail. So maybe that'll save us. Texture seems good. Cut. No, it's not bad. I'm actually kind of surprised. Surprised both ways. The texture's good. This one didn't get the marinating flavor. I don't know if I loaded the tail with butter. This one still feels like it could be dipped in that tray of butter and it would be just fine. Jeremy?
You can taste it a little bit.
A little bit. Nothing like the tail. The tail, yeah.
It didn't penetrate as much.
The tail absorbed it. All right, so overall I was super impressed with the lobster roll. I don't eat lobster rolls much. Usually I eat it in my traditional way that you saw. So I still gotta say that the traditional way that I've grown up eating it is my number one. My number two was the lobster roll, and number three was this little experiment we've had that I still wanna continue fine tuning and experimenting with. The texture was the only thing off. I think we're on the right track. We're gonna find a new cool way to eat lobsters. And I think this would be fun to continue experimenting with to see if we can find some new unique ways to do it. But until then, get over to the website and come rest ashore with us at Ashoar Cottages. Yeah, okay.